Yeah, it just got weird.
Cool. Are we doing this?
Yeah, it's starting.
Okay. We should probably wait for it to start before we start.
Yes. Okay,
think
now we're
that's how it
live
goes.
for sure.
Nice. Hello, everybody. We're about ready to start this pod. We're just
How about you
making.
turn off your damn volume, because that's going to be weird.
It's a good call. We're just making. See, this is why we have to start the podcast like this.
Have the early
So
start.
we make sure that we're okay.
Okay, I gotta perform a magic trick real quick.
Go ahead.
It's okay. Maybe that can kick us off. It's like the
Yeah.
ceremonial.
I didn't even know you had a rabbit with you today.
People would show us the rabbit. Sorry.
You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Welcome to Thunderheads. I am Brandon Soul, joined by the Thunder Tie himself. It is Mr. Justin Wright.
Well, I'm the same old me, you know, fucking up the status quo.
Rap song?
No,
Rap song.
Starting it
Felt
off
like a
with
rap
some curse.
song.
no, it's Turnpike Troubadours.
You've used them before.
Yeah, well, they're my favorite bands.
Yeah,
about
he
to
does
say-
like them.
I'm about
Yeah.
to set a 1 per limit here.
No,
Ooh, I kind of like it.
no,
I kind of like the limit.
These are my references.
Well, if we didn't get the first Turnpike Troubadour, then we probably
Yeah,
didn't
we're-
get the second one.
we're-
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
at this point, I'm not doing it for you guys. I'm more doing it for me.
I wish you did.
And
it
just
for
that
us.
one random person that might hear it and be
That's
like,
true.
hey, I like that song.
Fair enough. We're also joined by the action figures Carmelo Anthony and Russell Westbrook. And then the doctor's in the house. It is Rob Larson.
What up, fam?
All right. And then, of course, the dark and stormy Jason Lewis.
Yes, sir.
I think we're all in kind of a good mood today after
Hell
that
yeah, we
game.
are.
Felt like a big game. Thunder on a 3-game win streak. Their second 3-game win streak of the year.
Huge.
They've not had one longer than 3 wins, so we'll see, how they come out tomorrow
Yeah,
night in
not till
Mexico.
tomorrow.
Hey,
Yeah.
right, in Mexico City. We'll get to that probably a little bit. But let's talk about this game a little bit. Utah game, it felt like this was, to me, guys, this is it felt like this is what the Thunder needed this season.
Yeah.
You could make a case that this was the best win of the season. Now, I know they beat Golden State, but in the fashion in which this win came, right? So the way this game kind of went, the ebbs and flows.
You mean how it was really terrible, really, really terrible, and then it got better?
Exactly. Well, kind of just the way they had to dig out and win that game. And I know Utah was on a back-to-back, but do
We
you feel the same way?
hoped that the Golden State game would propel them to better things, like playing better, and then it didn't. So obviously now we have a little bit of hope that this game they're like, oh, now we got to figure it out. So now they're going to be good for a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The Golden State game was awesome to watch, but it was kind of nice to see them, get down to where a lot of people were writing them off. Brandon,
Hey, I wasn't writing them off.
you said this team sucks.
Oh, they did suck.
well, they
did suck,
did.
though.
They
But-
did suck.
I mean, I think a lot of people were sort of when you're down 17, especially the second half was not looking good. It was. I think it was easy to sort of get down on them, but they fought back. Russ was key in that, and then they got contributions from guys that they really needed to step up. It was good to see those guys finally step up.
Definitely. And I think one reason you can make the case that this could be the best win of the season is because in a game like Golden State, you expect them to come out fired up, and they clearly were so fired up that entire game, start to finish,
For
right?
sure.
This game, it's a team coming in second night of back-to-back. It's Utah. This team's had trouble this season getting fired up for games. They clearly were not fired up in that first half, and that's what led me to think maybe this is who they are. Maybe this team just is unable to get up for games. Second half, it turned around. So I want to ask you, Justin, do you believe this team has turned maybe not the corner, but a corner?
Well, this was several podcasts ago, but I was talking about
How many?
Exactly how many.
Well, I've been gone for so long, so I don't know. But I talked about these key things for a team to really gel. And, things that I watch for. And last night was one of those. They were down, they fought back, and they won a game. That big comeback win is one of those things that I need to see if a team is really going to really turn the page and make that progression into, hey, we can play as a unit, we're going to be a good team. Last night was that first time that we saw them really claw back into something and fight like they wanted to win a game. So, yeah, I don't want to jump on they're back, they're going to win the next 50 games in a row. But at the same time, that was one of the last things that I wanted to see for them to actually come together and be like, this is the team that I've wanted the entire time.
Sure.
So I think, yeah, that the last night was a good sign. I think they're trending in the right direction for the first time all season.
Interesting, because I kind of feel the same way. I feel like this is the win that they needed. They hadn't had one like this, you know? I think a big thing everyone said, they need that close victory because they've lost all these close games all season long. Well, the Spurs game was technically close. The Minnesota game was technically close. Both those games, they led the entire way.
Right.
This game, like you said, they're down 17. Things are looking bleak at best. You know, just looking terrible. No energy. Paul George with a terrible first half.
Oh my God.
Comes out, plays a pretty solid second half. You know what I think sparked the team, and I want to ask you guys what you think kind of sparked the team if you have a differing opinion. But Russell Westbrook in that third quarter, really all game, I kind of think this was one of his better games of the season.
It was for sure.
Whatever his numbers were.
It's like 34.
34, 14, and 13 on 12 for 25 shooting. So 34 points on 25 shots. That's more like it.
2 of 9 from 3 is not so great, but
You
the
know?
rest of it's good.
And at the same time, if you want to look at the bright side of that, that means he was 10 of 16 from 2.
That's true.
Which means he knocked down some mid-range jump shots that we have not seen from him this year.
Right, yeah, it was kind of nice to see that shot finally start falling for him. You brought up, I think that was you brought up the third quarter where he really sparked the team back. I mean, Billy left him in there with just the all bench unit, and he kind of just ran it. And I thought it was really cool of Billy. I mean, it was smart of him to leave him in there while he was hot and not pull him out too early.
Yeah, he had Adams in there with him, but the key stretch there was...
But it looked like last year.
Yeah,
You know?
it did.
Yeah.
But the key stretch was what Jason was referring to, was like the last 3 minutes of that quarter where Russ was completely selfish, was going to shoot the ball. You know, it was all about Russ at that point because
I think he hit 3 or 4 in a row, didn't he?
He did.
yeah, nothing else was
Well,
working. And that's why it was sort of out of necessity, which was it would be nice to see Russ sort of just make that decision before it gets bad.
Right.
Like, okay, I need to take this over now. But he waited until it was really bad, and then it was like, why not? Like,
Do you
let
think-
Russ see what he can do.
You think that is what kind of how he approached that? He thought he was like, hey, we're down 15, 17, 13, whatever it was, and said, I'm just going to see what I can do here? Or is that just kind of his style of play if both those other guys are out, Paul George and Carmelo Anthony?
No, I think it was
It's-
definitely
it's-
we saw it against in the fourth quarter. Where was he? Where he went crazy from 3.
Is that
Pistons
the
game?
Orlando.
It was a Magic game.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it was,
Oh, it was Magic, yeah.
It was the Magic game. And so where he was just jacking up threes and they were going in, they weren't great shots. I think it was just more
Yeah.
like the game's not going well. Let me just see if I can do something.
Well, and you had said he hit like 2 or 3 shots in a row. I think at one point in that third quarter he had hit like 11 of their, or he had made like 11 of their 13 points or something like that. So he really took over kind of there. And then I know the bench unit had kind of stayed, was that in the fourth quarter, to start the fourth quarter? They'd stayed out there and kind of, they did a really good job of kind of dwindling the lead down a little bit more.
Well, they held their own defensively.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. I mean, they struggled to score. I
Right.
think if you look, so what, they had 7 total points, the bench did. So obviously,
Not great.
those players struggle to score, and a lot of times it's not going to be an entire bench unit. But back to Russell Westbrook, I think the energy that he plays with when he gets that shot going, like he did in the third quarter, at the end of the third quarter, it sparked the team.
Yeah.
I mean, they just rode that wave to the end. And I know Utah was on the second night of a back-to-back, but hey, that first night of the back-to-back, they blew out. They absolutely blew out Washington.
Killed the Wizards,
so it's not like
50 points or
It
something.
was
Yeah.
something insane.
it's not like they had to play like a wire-to-wire game,
Yeah.
right? So they were emptying the bench in that game. So I think that Russ actually, for the first time in a while, deserves a ton of credit. And I think that, and obviously making shots for him helps, right? So if, when you're making shots, it's a lot easier to keep playing with that kind of energy. Hopefully this kind of turns a corner for him.
Right, yeah, like hopefully that shot starting to fall kind of keeps going. I mean, he kind of feels more like he's taking control of the team like we had hoped in the beginning.
That's actually a really good
right?
point.
Like, because we had all talked about him, he's kind of sacrificing and trying to get so hard
Right.
to get other people involved that he wasn't taking any for himself. And now you kind of see he's kind of getting the balance correct.
I kind of thought in that Utah game, he started a little slow, maybe the first 2-3 minutes. Defensively, he was off and on, especially when he had to guard Donovan Mitchell, which
That kid.
Yeah.
is
He's
badass.
very, very good. But I thought Russ did a really good job. You know, he took 25 shots as a point guard, so a lot of people can look at that and be like, same old Russ.
Bog.
Yeah. But I thought he did an awesome job just managing that game, initiating offense, getting guys in the places they needed to be. And when he can do that and make shots, that's when this team is so hard to beat.
His passing was still a little sloppy, but that's
Yeah,
gonna,
7 turnovers.
That's going to happen. A guy that plays the way Russ does, it's just going to happen. And is it bad that we've gotten to the point where we just kind of expect it? It's like 7 turnovers.
No,
but he played really hard. And he had 14 assists. It's fine.
Right. Yeah, to me, if he's not making these turnovers, I feel like he's not playing Russ ball.
Right. He's not going fast enough to turn over the ball that much. And some of the passes that he makes, like that he's gotten accustomed to making those really weird, like small window passes to Steven Adams on the pick and roll, or just like he'll try and hit someone when he gets himself into trouble, like dribbling, and then tries to make that really weird pass. Like
Yeah.
the defender
Sometimes
saw that
it'll
all
hit
the way,
his
man.
feet.
Like, but so really the big thing that stands out for me was it goes back to defense, and we've talked about how much defense is going to be the strength of this team. For the first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, Utah scored 2 points.
Right.
2 points.
14 total in the fourth.
This is a team that has been lighting everyone up. You guys just talked about it.
Yep.
They blew the doors off the Wizards.
Yeah, and they had won 6 in a row prior to this game.
They were playing some of the best ball. I keep bumping this mic. I'm
It's okay.
messing myself up.
Hey, don't get mad at yourself.
Oh,
Don't
no,
be
I'm
too
gonna
hard
get
on
rid
It's okay. It's
So,
okay.
but
yourself.
anyways,
Start throwing shit.
they were playing some of the best basketball in the NBA.
Yeah.
And you're holding a team like that to 14 points. Joe Ingles was hitting everything until the fourth quarter.
You're right.
Donovan Mitchell was hitting everything until the fourth quarter. Rudy Gobert didn't do a whole lot in the fourth. Like no one.
He
did a
got
whole
worked
lot in
by
the fourth
Adams.
quarter.
That's what he did.
And it started. I'm going to take a page out of Barry Trammell's book. He wrote a really great article, and so that fourth quarter starts off with Paul George and Andre Robertson, and then 3 bench players: Raymond Felton, Patrick Patterson of all people, and Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant being the only minus for the Thunder at -5, but they set the tone in that fourth quarter to just kind of obviously Russ sets it in the third quarter, making that final push.
Right.
But Utah was still hot, so it's like you gained a little bit of ground, but not enough.
And
Right.
you saw it coming out in that fourth quarter. That bench unit that you're talking about, the energy that they had
Yeah.
was
Right.
palpable.
And then everyone else, you check into the game, you saw those guys do that. You want to go do that same thing.
Yep.
If you're Steven Adams, you want to go walk down the paint. If you're Russell Westbrook, you want to be all over your man. You're playing those passing lanes. You're looking for that chance. You're getting those steals, and it led to really good things. Defense has to. I think it still has to be the key for this team, especially as we move forward. That they're figuring some things out as a team, but they have to hang their hat on defenses if they're going to have a lot of success down the road.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've been seeing is Paul George handling the ball a lot more, especially with that second unit. We talked about Raymond Felton. He played less than 10.5 minutes in this game. But Paul George is playing almost 40 minutes. He had 6 turnovers.
5 of those in the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got an interesting stat here with turnovers. So right now the Thunder are averaging 15.5 per game. The league average is 15.2. So they're very close to league average. They're 18th in the NBA. But you look at when the Thunder have 18 or more turnovers in a game, they're 5-0 so far. Whenever they have 15 or more, they're 8-5. And whenever they have 14 or less, they're 3-9.
Weird.
Isn't that
What?
seem completely backwards?
What does that?
That's
What does
so
that tell
strange.
you?
Now here, listen to this. On the 18 or more, where they're 5-0, these are the teams that they've beaten. So the Knicks, they've beaten the Pacers, a decent team, a pretty good team
Sure.
in the East so far.
Sure.
The Jazz, which was the most recent game.
Right.
The Timberwolves and the Spurs. Those are the 5. I mean, there's some pretty good competition in there as well. And those are the 5 that they've beat. Getting 18 or more turnovers in a game. So I don't know exactly what that says.
I mean, obviously, you're not going to go into games and be
No.
like, all right, guys, 20 turnovers.
At least
tonight."
18 today.
I
all
do
right?
wonder if it says something about sort of ball movement or trying to
Right.
do more.
Trying to make the
It's
play.
like when you're
Right.
trying to move the ball, like it's gonna probably
but
not
it's
work
super
out
weird.
all the time.
Super weird to
That is
see.
weird.
Yeah, it is strange.
It almost like goes back to the Russ thing. Like I want him trying these passes. If he doesn't have turnovers, it makes me feel like he's not
Right.
playing his game. So maybe the Thunder as a whole have taken upon this identity a little bit. Paul George's ability to make a play is going to be huge for this team. He's got to find some offensive consistency. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I still does it worry you at all though? Less than 10.5 minutes for Raymond Felton, who I mean he wasn't playing great. Yeah, I don't even think he scored in
He
the
did
game
not.
yesterday. But still,
he hadn't been great
He only
of
took
late.
3 shots.
kind of need Raymond Felton still to fill that need. I feel like if you're going to rely on Paul George to do that, I hope it works out. I do worry about the amount of court time that Paul George is getting, and so I think during this regular season, like it would kind of be nice. I know that they want to win games. They haven't. They're way below where they expected to be.
Yeah.
But it does. I don't know. I wonder about Raymond Felton's role going forward. And kind of what we should see.
Yeah, because he didn't play any minutes with Russ, I don't think. And
He
if he
was out
did,
there it was.
very brief.
I know in the third quarter,
Maybe
I
like a
think,
final
it was like
possession type
for a
thing?
couple minutes, but it wasn't. It was only when Russ was kind of taking over and he wasn't doing anything.
Right, because Russ
From what
played
I
38
remember.
minutes and Felton played 10, so that adds up to 48, and that's why.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember them being on the court together. But yeah, I mean that's a worry. I was going to bring that up too, and I think that maybe you expect a guy like Felton to go have some ups and downs, right? You can't expect him to have an 82-game season where he's just a solid backup point guard every single game, because it's hard to do stuff with limited minutes like that, right? I mean, he played 10 minutes. He hadn't, and he's never going to play more than 18,
Right.
right?
You're right.
Yeah, you wouldn't
You
want
hope
him
But
No.
I understand your point, because your original point was based on Paul George playing all these minutes.
right? Because I don't know what he's averaging like over the last like week or so, but it seems like I mean he is playing a bunch on the season. He's averaging 37.1.
And,
Yeah, it
and
seems
that-
like he's always around
That's
37
with
or
like being
39 minutes.
ejected.
Yeah, exactly.
and-
Right. Or foul trouble that he's been in
exactly.
all the
Right.
time.
I think he has 2 games where he's been in big time foul
Yeah.
trouble. So that's weird.
So,
It is.
You know they don't want to do that.
or
You,
mean, you
not
would
the
think-
foul trouble, but the minutes.
Yeah,
you know
right.
they don't want to play him that many minutes, ideally, right?
Yeah,
they
I
keep
know. I
doing
definitely
it,
don't.
yeah.
But I think the problem is though is that like you said, Raymond Felton's been struggling,
Mm-hmm.
and the sort of combination of Paul George and Steven Adams is just incredible
Mm-hmm.
as of late. And so I think you try and build off of that and try and get as much as you can out of Paul George while Russ is on the bench.
Steven Adams has been an absolute beast.
oh my God.
Go ahead, Justin.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's. I think going back to Paul George, that minute's load that he's got right now. Maybe it's just a function of Billy Donovan's trying to just. I'm gonna throw my guys out there as much as I possibly can. We're gonna make this work, or we're gonna lose everything. Like I'm just gonna throw them out there. They're gonna play a lot of basketball together, and I mean it's worked for the last 3 nights at least.
It could be a thing where he's playing a lot of minutes because Billy Donovan's trying to figure out who he plays best with.
Right.
Could be.
And I mean, last night Russ had 38 minutes and Melo had 34 minutes. So they weren't. It wasn't like a huge difference between the 3 of them. Like they all 3 played a lot.
But it would be nice if the big 3, all played 35 and under a night.
Yeah. No, that would. That's
But
kind of
there's
what you
no
would shoot
chance
for. But
at
you can't do
Well-
that right now. I think for Billy, he is trying to figure out. Okay, well, what is working? Like, who can I put this guy in with? Like, where does this fit? And you kind of have to use that time to do that.
Not with like the bench unit not playing very well.
Right. And that doesn't help.
Yeah, because you lose leads, and the only way those guys are gonna be consistently under there is if you're blowing teams out to where those guys get to sit at the end of some games for 6 minutes
Yeah.
or so.
And that's
And
not happening
that's
at all.
almost what this team needs, though. Because how do you expect a bench unit that's not playing a lot of minutes to suddenly bust out of a slump, start scoring the ball when they're playing as little minutes as they are? But at the same time, you can't play in more minutes because you're trying to win
they're
games.
terrible.
Yeah, because you're 11 and 12 on the season, and you're trying to get some wins under your belt and trying to catch a little momentum.
Well, and it's just become painfully obvious that there aren't a whole lot of shooters on that bench, especially with
Supposed
Abrinas in
to
the
be.
slump that he's in, with Patrick Patterson in the slump that he's in.
What is that? A
There's-
slump? What is
Yeah,
that?
is this,
I don't know what that is.
is this when you're just bad?
It's more of a canyon, I guess.
Yeah,
Some sort of trench.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been bad, but
it's a
when you-
pipeline.
Of
When you
the
don't have-
Marianas version?
Yeah, the deepest part of the world. Yeah, I like it. But the problem is like if they're not going to be able to shoot and they're not going to be able to score, like you just kind of hope that those guys that are kind of some ragtag defenders are going to be able to hold a lead. Like I don't want to do that. I'm going to have to stagger my big guys. I'm going to have to throw Paul George out there, Andre out there, Melo to get some scoring, Russ because he's Russell Westbrook. You've got to stagger these guys with this bench until the bench really gels itself. It's like you've got 2 teams. You've got your starters, you've got your bench. The starters look like they're starting to gel.
Right.
The bench hasn't yet. And you really need those two things to coincide with each other. And if the bench isn't getting it done, then you've got to stagger the starters with the bench and try and figure something out to win games, because you're falling behind the 8 ball. I know it's only 20 games in. We're still like, there's
still
plenty of
early,
time.
but you do need to get.
Yeah, you need to start progressing in the right direction. If you're not, then you're not going to make the playoffs, or you're not going to get to where you need to be.
Right.
Is that where Donovan needs to nail down a bench rotation, though, at least for a couple games at a time? I guess he's kind of done it. I mean, the last 2 games have been a little similar, and the couple games before that where Abrinas was benched were a little similar. But how do you expect that bench unit to create or to build any cohesiveness if
They're not together.
Right.
Like,
If
you
the
have to
lineups are
be-
constantly
Yeah.
shifting.
And I think that's been, like, although I really love the fact that Billy tinkers with stuff and he tries things out all the time, that does create a challenge for the players that are involved in that tinkering of, like, hey, just be ready to play with whoever you're out there with. But it's like, yeah, but if I had some consistency with the
Right.
guy that
If I
I was
knew what
going to
to
be
expect.
next, if I knew how this certain guy was going to cut or run in this certain lineup, like, it would probably help me out being better.
Because you're seeing that with the starters. I mean, they're really moving the ball or making an effort to move the ball. And a
they're
lot of
trying.
times that ball, they're doing a really good job of passing it to the open man. And a lot of
Right.
time, you know who that open man is? You can take a wild
Big
guess.
old Steve.
No.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Often lately,
killing
but
it.
what's the other one?
Robertson.
Andre Robertson.
Yeah.
And he's wide open all the time. And he usually does a good job of just passing it quick. If he catches it and he's not on the cut, he passes it quick. But when you're wide open and you make the quick pass to
No
swing
one's-
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like because
They're like,
that
hey,
person's already being guarded.
Yeah.
So there's this weird thing with Robertson, right? So the starting lineup is, like I said, they're starting to find their groove a little bit, but it's almost like with Robertson, there's a ceiling on how good they can be. But without him, there's a much lower floor, as far as defense goes.
Right.
It's this weird conundrum that they didn't exist before you have guys like Paul George and before Steven Adams had the space that he has. And now there's this weird dynamic to this team that in the playoffs, I mean, what's Robertson going to do? He's not going to be guarded.
I mean, I think he's going to do what he's started to do, which is cut.
Obviously, I
all
mean,
the
he's been
time.
doing a hell of a job cutting. I have nothing bad to say about Robertson right now. I'm just saying I do think there is a ceiling on
Yeah.
what you can achieve offensively with him out there.
Yeah, I mean, he can't be just standing there being wide open and on a 3 and not take the shot. Like, he at least has to start trying to shoot it.
But that's
is that
what's-
a good thing?
And it's almost nice, though, watching the games when you're like, oh, my God, he didn't shoot it. Good job. Good job not shooting it.
He has to like start setting screens. Like they have to. He can't just stand in the corner.
Yeah.
Like that is playing to what the defense wants. Like just put him in the corner so we can. It makes it even easier for us to not guard him.
Yeah.
Like he has to be involved by setting screens, by trying to create space in a different way than just standing far away from everybody else.
And he has a little bit. I think you've seen it, especially with Paul George off-ball screens. That's a lot of the time where
Right.
Andre Robertson, the last few games where he's just been that wide open down low, it's from setting an off-ball screen for a Paul George, for a Melo, and then just kind of floating around back to the basket like, hey
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, he's the perfect guy for that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Because no one's paying attention to him in the first place. He's creating the action for the other guys, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Paul George is running. I should probably look at that guy, and then this dude can't make anything.
So you kind of go back to that, like you've got Steven Adams as your defined 4, and Andre Robertson is this weird 2-3 combo guard, whatever you want to call him. On offense, you kind of slot him to that old school power forward role where he's another screener, another roller. And so if you use him like that on offense, which is what we're starting to see, where it's kind of that off-ball guy, whereas Steven Adams is your dominant on-ball screen man, you add another layer to the offense. You take it, like, obviously he's not going to be shooting outside a whole bunch, but like I said, you're just treating him like a traditional power forward of olden days. If you can get that out of him, then you make him really, really dangerous on offense.
Problem is, not to cut you off, sorry,
No,
but
go for
I think that him setting screens is never going to be as effective as you'd like it to be because his
No.
body, it's like that kind of cripples him from being able to be just like this massive screen setter.
Body shaming is
But-
very hurtful, by the way.
Okay, but
Shame him for his beautiful slender body.
like one of the things about him not setting screens is that like I understand like even whenever he cuts though, like his man is gonna follow him, which is gonna clog up the lane. And so having him just stand out in the corner, which is not what you guys are saying, but like what they have done with him in the past is just to push him out into the corner. And then especially like we saw this in the playoffs where he's just not guarded at all because the goal is to let him shoot at that point. Like the defense is going to, that's what they want, is to let him shoot. And so by getting him involved like with a screen, you more so get him afterwards, after the screen, to sort of maybe pop and then pass, or to actually roll with it and maybe get to the rim and create something there, rather than, even if he is wide open and they throw him the ball and he's in the corner, like then it's just, he's just going to stand out there because you don't want him to shoot.
And maybe more importantly, you get the defense moving if you have him setting screens up the ball,
Yeah.
He's been doing an excellent job. I mean, he's the highest plus minus on the team last night, plus 14. In the first half, I'll admit, in that first half of last night, I was thinking, why is Robertson out on the floor right now? Defensively, he does not look sharp.
Right.
He's not really helping out that much offensively. When the Thunder can't score, you score 39 points in the first half.
Yep.
Like there's certain games where you're like, what is Robertson doing on the court right now when there's really no place for him?
Right. Well, the
In
crazy
the second
part about
half,
that
he
is-
was incredible.
Yeah.
He was incredible. He had maybe one of the biggest plays of the game. For sure, one of the biggest plays of the game was his offensive rebound when Grant kept getting his own offensive rebound and could not put it in the basket, and Robertson just darted in there, grabbed the ball, and dunked it, and it was like, thank you.
Yeah.
He dunked it on Grant. Like
Yeah.
he was still,
He
he was still on the rim.
Like he was still hanging on, and it was like, thankfully he let go. 'Cause that could have been bad. But
And I hope that I'm wrong and I'm off on this. There's a ceiling as far as how good the offense can be with Robertson out there, because I think that he helps so much defensively that if you can raise that ceiling with Robertson offensively, this team, I mean, can be so good, right?
yeah,
If you can generate open looks for Melo, you can consistently generate open look for Paul George, and Russ's shot starts going a little bit more than it has, this team's going to be really hard to beat. But I wonder how much that Robertson offensively, it bleeds into getting those other guys open looks. Is it harder to get those guys open looks when Robertson's on the court?
I mean, I think it is. Like, yeah, your limit, it does like pull you down a little bit. Like it's just going to, because he's not as talented as the other people on offense. But if you utilize him,
not.
or even close,
No.
but if you utilize him correctly, I think you can like balance that side of it out a little bit more. That's what I'm saying.
I
It's
think
like,
he's been doing a really good job of doing what he needs to do.
yeah, exactly. And we had, with what Justin was getting at with the 4 thing, like we had talked about that a little bit preseason, and that's what they did last year in the playoffs.
Sure.
Kind of use him as that 4 and get him moving, and he's the guy that can get the offense moving, I think, through doing stuff like that.
But he doesn't even have to do that. Like he just needs to not be a liability.
Right.
Like he is, like he has been. Like just don't be that much of a minus.
Yeah.
Just somehow be a neutral, because what you get on the defensive end from him is great and is going to make up for what he obviously, the reason he's in the league is because what he lacks on offense, he makes up for on defense.
Yeah.
You just need him to not be so negative on offense. And
He's
that's on Billy Donovan more than
Right.
anybody else. Like Billy Donovan has to create sets where Andre Robertson is not, such a negative, creating so much more pressure on everybody, on the other 4 guys that he's on the court with.
It's definitely tricky because he does so much defensively, and in order to make him effective offensively and not a negative, as you're saying, got to
has to
move
do
him
a
around.
lot.
Got to
Yeah.
do him. So he's constantly moving on
Yeah.
the court. I mean, he's never taking a possession off. So that's where it does get a little tricky. But, man, he's been doing a great job of just finishing at the rim.
yeah, he has. He's
The best we've ever
Been
seen
great.
from him, right?
yeah.
Easily.
And one thing we had talked about a couple weeks ago, I think it was, is I completely forgot my point.
It
just
sounded
left.
good.
It just
until
left.
until
It
you got
just
to
left.
that point.
Where'd it go?
I bet it was going to be good.
It was
It
really
was
good.
so
It was gonna-
Son of a bitch.
I got something. I'll say
Good.
So 3-game winning streak, we talked about it. What if you had to say there's a number one thing, the most important thing, the biggest key to this 3-game winning streak? What is it?
Adams.
They have scored more points.
Come
than their
on,
opponents.
you know what I'm saying.
I'm gonna say Steven Adams.
I like where you're going with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
Definitely
Steven
Steven
Adams.
Adams. Yeah.
He's just balling.
Yeah.
Like he's going crazy right now.
How
And
good
it's-
is he?
kind of incredible.
Like,
But-
that's not rhetorical. Like,
and,
how
like-
good? How good is he? As far as it, are we still underrating this guy? Like, is he that good, or is this? I mean, he's 28 for 34 in the last
Yeah.
3 games. I tweeted these out last night. He's third in the NBA in offensive rebounding. He's fourth in screen assists. He's third in steals among centers, and he's third in contested shots per game across the entire NBA.
Well, so just take, for instance, what we had said.
That's dirty work.
Where he is in the top centers. I think we said he was in the top 10 before.
top 10.
And we said he wasn't in the top 5. If you look at all those numbers, if he keeps doing this for an extended period of time, that kind of tosses him up there in that top 5.
He's
Well,
in the top 1.
It depends on how you look at it, right? Because you have a lot of centers out there that can score the ball much better than he can.
Yeah.
And Donovan made a great point. He said, it's not like we're using him any different. It's not like we're dumping it down low to him, and he's like going to this array of
getting
post moves.
fancy.
Nah, it's just there's space. And what Donovan did is he credited Melo and Paul George. He said,
Right.
these guys are just creating space for him, and Steven's doing a great job of not wasting it. He's making them pay. Man, does he have a chance to be an all-star?
I don't think he's gonna be an all-star unless he can just
Just a
keep doing
chance.
this. Like, if he keeps doing this every game from here on out, then yeah.
There's probably
that
too
doesn't
many
sound-
too many good bigs.
Yeah.
Let me throw it. I'll preface this way: if this was for those of you that are familiar with how baseball does their
No one
All-Star
is
games,
because no one watches that.
it's done a little bit differently. There's a lot more coaches picking players. And
Oh, we're
everything.
talking about
It's-
All-Star game?
It's not just like a straight fan vote and then coaches like fill out the roster.
So
if
it's
it was
better.
if it was just based on like, okay, we are people that actually coach these games, we watch all these games, we evaluate the talent, and then we pick the players based on that, then yeah, absolutely, Steven Adams definitely deserves a shot at it. The fact that it's a popularity contest, he'll probably never have a chance, especially not
Right.
with how stacked the Western Conference is.
Yeah.
But he's making an argument that, if the format was a little bit different, he would at least deserves a chance to go there
Some
and show off what he is,
consideration.
because he's absolutely earned it. Well, maybe it's just like, maybe we're just overreacting to 3 games, but I think over
He's
the
been pretty
course of
damn
this
good.
season until February, like, I think you're going to see a guy that legitimately earns a chance. I just don't think he'll get the shot because of the way that the NBA All-Star
That's a
game
good take.
is.
He probably doesn't score enough.
No,
be honest.
no, it's not fun. He's not necessarily like a fun player to watch unless he's on your team.
I think he's a blast to watch. So
Well,
your
and
point
you just
is
have-
proven true.
You just have like Rudy Gobert, whose name is out there all the time.
Sure,
like,
but
as-
he's been hurt, so that's why I bring it up a
help him.
little bit. So, but then you have Aldridge, who's had a really great year
DJ.
for his standards. Yeah, but
Always
I
is in
think
there.
Adams might get in over DeAndre Jordan this year
I'd be
if that
for
were if that were a thing. But then you have Cousins, you have Anthony Davis,
Yeah.
other
They'll
ones.
probably both just be there.
Yeah, they'll both be there for sure. But,
Sons of
it'd be
bitches.
fun if they'd at least give him some consideration because of the way he's been playing. One guy that we've only brought up briefly is Carmelo. He did not play a good game for 3 quarters. And
But
in
that
the
fourth quarter, bro.
fourth quarter, he played hard. They used him in the post. He went to a couple moves, and he made some plays, and he contributed a large amount to this victory. And I want to ask you guys if what you're seeing from Melo right now, which... Hey, we said last pod that, he's going to have his games that he has to get these shots out, right?
Yeah.
So he shot 19 times last night, but
Still feel like he sacrificed some stuff.
it did, right?
Well, like the biggest thing I saw from him in the fourth was that he was screening for guys. He was
Yeah.
moving around and setting screens.
He was the main guy. Settings. He set 2 screens
Mm-hmm.
on that one set that they ran, like pretty much the entire
whole
time with the
entire
with the
fourth quarter.
starters. Yeah.
Yeah, they ran Paul George from the weak side, baseline around some screens to come up. Then you're right, Melo would come up and
It
set
was
a ball
Melo
screen.
setting the screen
Yep.
for Paul George to run through.
Mm-hmm.
He would run through off of more screens while Carmelo would set a screen on Russ's guy, and then usually they would work something off of that.
And they go to the post and for Melo a couple of possessions, and he
Yeah.
made him pay.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Super
Ah.
underrated thing that Melo did last night. Missed that shot long for the Steven Adams putback. Totally did that on purpose. He knew Steven Adams was going to be
Totally
on the
a pass.
backside.
Do you believe in Melo? Do you believe in this version of Melo? Do you believe that he will keep this up for the season? That he can keep it up for the season? And
What version? What are you asking?
Are we at sacrificial Melo? Is that what we're
sacrificial
talking about?
Melo. This new phrase we've coined.
It was really just 2 games though, right? I mean,
Are you not counting the Utah game?
What do you mean? I mean,
What
it was
do you mean?
he had the last two games that he where he shot 10. He
Sure.
had 10 attempts. He had 7 attempts. I mean, it was really, and then this game that we just saw.
He
was
shot 19 times, but it still felt like to me that he's still making that effort that necessarily wasn't necessarily
it wasn't for
there.
himself
Yes.
almost the whole time.
I
Like where he's
yeah.
setting screens, where he's moving a little bit more, where he's doing stuff to try to get other people.
I thought in this
shots.
Utah game he definitely took a couple questionable ones early, but it looked like to me it was a guy that hadn't taken a lot of shots in the last couple games and he was ready to get up some shots.
Well, and also that first half was just garbage.
Sure, that too.
It's hard.
But
It's hard.
So on one hand, it's understandable for me for if Melo does shoot these questionable shots, and sometimes they go in. That's the good thing
Yeah.
about Melo. But I don't know. Do you believe in him to keep it up as far as doing what's best for the team throughout the entire season?
I believe that he will continue to try and work within the offense. And if they're going to put him out there with the second unit, I think his shots will go up. If he's not going to be out there, the primary person with the second unit, then I think I hope he would stay around, sort of like 12 to 14, rather than so the previous 2 games he had 17 attempts, whereas against
Right,
Utah he had
19.
19.
But it also
so there was 2 more attempts there, whereas he also missed 2 more shots than in those previous 2 games combined.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just
He did have 9 rebounds last night.
I thought he did a good job getting to the rim.
Yeah.
Last night
in the fourth
In
quarter.
the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was terrible in the first 3 quarters.
Okay.
Let's just get that out of the way. Like
Yeah.
he was bad, but like that fourth quarter showed a lot.
And
of
maybe
him.
getting him involved in the screen game is a way to make him feel engaged a little bit. If you can get him to commit to setting those screens.
I'll say this too: if they win, it will definitely continue.
Yes.
If they start to lose, that will
While
be the
he's-
first thing that breaks down. Is he's gonna be like, obviously, I'm not shooting enough, and he just had 19 attempts.
Clearly
But if
what
they
you guys need
if
is
they
me
lose
to
that
shoot.
game and he gets 19 attempts, like I still think he's like, I didn't shoot enough. You gotta continue to feed Melo.
yeah, you got to find me. Yeah,
Like,
that's
I
how,
need at
that's
least
how we're gonna win.
27 shots.
I like the way he played in that fourth quarter, and I like how they went to him in that matchup with Joe Ingles.
He was 0 of 5 from 3. That's not what you want.
Yeah, I don't remember too many good looks for him.
Yeah,
from 3.
I don't either.
I don't even remember him shooting 5.
Yeah, that surprised me when I just looked at it. I was like,
I didn't remember him taking 19 shots
Yeah.
because he was 4 for 6 in that fourth quarter. Like he was so efficient.
so good
I
in
mean,
the fourth.
everything looked good.
He had that one mid-range shot that he made a little move. He was open, and it kind of bounced around the rim, and he actually ran in to go get the offense. It went in, but he
it
ran
looked
in
nice
to go
that he
get
went
the
for it.
Yeah. It's like normally he's trotting
Fourth
back.
quarter Melo, new Melo.
I think that
There's
he's
so many
for
of
sure
them.
realizing he's got to be realizing he's like, I got to get in shape. I don't think he's been in shape in like 10 years. To be honest, like the shape that he needs to be in.
Yeah.
Well, not if he's gonna like keep being the main screen setter
Right.
on setting multiple screens on a single possession.
Because they're
and-
using him almost in that Serge Ibaka way where when they bring the ball up the court to get the offense moving, to get the ball moving.
seems like such a good spot for him too.
Yeah, he's the first pass. He's the one that makes the second pass and then cuts through.
Yeah.
And is the one that gets the offense going. So he's definitely gonna have to.
I don't know if I would call this sacrificial Melo, but I do agree. Like it does seem like he sort of at any time in the season, like this is the most that he's bought into trying to
Just call him
figure it out.
Team Melo.
I like Team Melo.
I like sacrificial.
It's a little longer to say.
We
It's a
we
lot.
talked about Russ with the bench and how he sparked the team at the end of the third quarter. Do you guys like this? Do you think Donovan should stick with this for a couple games? Maybe see what Russ is like with the bench. Obviously, his field goal attempts are gonna go up.
He's really good with them because
He knows
used
what to
it.
do.
Well,
The thing I like about it,
It takes away that
he's
decision.
not gonna overthink.
Yeah.
There's no decision making.
Yeah, it's like,
mostly,
it's me.
instincts. It's instincts. That's how he knows how to play. And I think that's been a big issue with this team is they are overthinking everything, and that all starts with Russell Westbrook, who has the ball in his hands most of the time.
yeah, and so part of my thinking there, though, he played the whole third quarter. He played all 12 minutes in that third quarter.
Did he play the whole first quarter too? I think he did.
Did he? I don't remember. Maybe. I
I might
for
be
a-
thinking the game before.
I know for a fact he played the entire third quarter, and we had talked about this a couple of pods ago, where we were trying to figure out like who is best suited for that second unit, and it looks, I think Billy Donovan's going to go partly with Paul George. He's going to go partly with Russ. It looks like, and I think it worked last night with Russ because he made shots. Like, that could have completely fallen up. They could have
You're
been
right.
down by 25 going into that fourth quarter.
Yeah.
If some of those shots that because he got hot, and so it was 12 points,
Yeah.
I think, going into the fourth. It could have been completely different.
Isn't there something too when he takes those shots though with no hesitation, with no because you saw it in the fourth quarter. What was that one play? Close game. I think the Thunder were up 1, and he had a wide open mid-range shot, and he passed out of it to a guy. I think he was trying to go to Adams,
He went to Adams, yeah.
who was not open. There was a guy standing right in front of him, but it was like, I think it was almost like a microcosm of everything that Russ has been doing this year. He goes up for the jump shot, but he's thinking about other things. He's thinking about how he wants to get these other guys involved, and he wants to get buckets. He's like, I'm shooting too much, whatever. He might be looking at the stat sheet, said, I have 24 field goal attempts tonight. I need to make a play. I don't know. So when he's out there with that bench unit, it's almost like he's just playing. He's just playing.
It's like when he's with the starters, he's trying to play chess. When he's
Yeah.
with the bench players, he's just playing checkers.
Yeah.
Just making moves, making plays, going
Simple.
and playing and sometimes that's all it takes. Just go out and play basketball. You're a good
Right.
basketball player. Also, he played the entire third quarter. Yes.
Well, and actually, to me, I felt like it was really cool of Russ in the third, at the end of the third, where he just kind of takes over and gets us that spark back. And then when he came back in the fourth, I felt like he did a great job of getting other people involved, and he kind of switched
Yeah.
to the other Russ. And I
That's
thought
difficult.
that was amazing to me,
Mm-hmm.
like how he was able to just turn that switch the other way.
I agree, and that's being picky when I point out that one mid-range shot. But
Yeah,
that was a
'cause that was,
really
like, one of 'em.
It was a really bad one though. It
Yeah.
was like wide open.
Well, it was
No-
late in the game, too.
Yeah, no one
Like,
was around him.
it was a big point in the game where you have a wide open shot.
It felt like that actually could have lost them the game.
Right.
It could have turned,
Yeah.
right there where I don't remember what they came down and I don't remember what
I think they
Utah-
stopped him. They
Did
stopped him, yeah.
But if they come
Dre
down, like
probably
typically
did it.
you get that turnover, they come down and hit a 3 on you. It's like,
Right.
holy cow! And then I think Russ starts to panic a little bit because he just made a mistake. Now he needs to make up
Yeah,
for
exactly.
it. and
It's like domino effect. That's how it works.
I was gonna go with the snowball, but dominoes.
Butterfly.
What? Oh,
Wait, not
Butterfly effect?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Wait, that doesn't.
I don't know
A
if
flap
that's-
of the butterfly's wings can change everything.
Did you say a flop? A flop?
Flap.
Flap.
That's an A.
Okay.
I want to stick with domino because now we've got dominoes, chess, and checkers all like in the
Lots
span
of board
5
game
minutes.
talk.
Yeah.
We should play a game.
This is a
Let's
very
stop
You got any
this.
games?
This is
Yeah,
a
I've
very
got a bunch.
This is a very backgammon of a
Yes.
conversation.
We just clear
just
this
close it
up.
out.
We're done here.
It's time for board games. You
All right. Hey, we got a game prepared.
Yes, we
Is it Risk?
No.
That would make us all hate each other.
And we'd
let's
be here for the
honest.
next 17 hours.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
setting it
so
up.
I don't have
Just
to go to
setting it
work.
up.
All right, do it.
Here they come, yo. Here they come. Here they this or that. 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 This or that.
All right. This or that makes its return. It's been a while.
It has.
This game's pretty self-explanatory. There's going to be 2 options here. One is this and one is that. The theme tonight, or yesterday,
If you're listening.
it is which is more important moving forward. Okay, so there's going to be 2 options here.
Okay.
First one, I'm going to ask the group here. Just speak up
All at once?
if you want it. Yeah, speak up if you feel good about it. Which is more important going forward? This, Paul George becoming more consistent offensively, or that, Carmelo continuing to move the ball?
Carmelo. I'll go.
That? Or was
That.
it that?
Yeah, it was the
That's
that.
a that.
That's a that.
Yeah, I'll go Carmelo.
I'm going to that with him. I'm going to go
Anybody-
with that.
Justin, you
as
want to go
well.
on that train, or are you going with this?
I'll go this. I
son of a
think
bitch.
that
No, you're wrong.
between Russ and Paul George, even if Carmelo stops passing the ball, I think
They can
Russ,
freeze him out.
Well, not necessarily freeze him out, but
fuck outta here.
hey, you pick your spots with Melo, and if both Russ and Paul George are generating at such a high level, they're moving the ball that kind of makes up for where Melo was. I think that becomes a wash.
Maybe, but it is super weird just to see Paul George go from incredible to
Not.
completely like inconsistent, and then back and forth. It's I don't know. It's one of the weirder things so far of this season to
I keep
watch.
seeing a bunch of stuff on Reddit and here and there about Pacers fans saying that he never showed up for bad teams,
Right.
which is a little concerning. But he's
That's
just
exactly what's happening this year. Yeah,
I don't care.
it is kind of weird.
I said that though, and like he's still shooting 40% from 3.
He's super
Like,
good.
I want him to shoot 15 threes a game. I'm not even kidding.
Nah, I'd be cool with it.
I mean, if you're gonna make 41%
Yeah,
or
go for it.
40%,
I think a lot of times
Shoot
the
40 of 'em.
defenses are giving him jump shots. Just shoot it in their face. I don't care. Like that's good offense for this team. That's good offense.
That's just weird thinking. The team shot 18 last night. They were 4 of 18 from 3 last night.
Maybe
Talking
I'm
about
exaggerating saying
15.
15.
Maybe it's a little.
But
12.
no, I'm totally there with you. He's a good enough shooter. If he's got the shot, which he has the shot a lot, take it.
He's
Make
the
it.
only one that should be shooting threes at this point. It seems like.
Alex
Like,
Sabrinas needs to shoot out of his swamp.
Carmelo, when he steps into it,
Yeah. Nice.
you know, when
I
the
think
momentum's-
Carmelo is second on this team in 3-point percentage. I don't have the numbers, but he's like 32% or something like that.
I
And
know
he's
Russ
second.
before last night, which he was 2 for 9.
Wasn't
Before
good.
last night, he was
Yeah.
like a 33.5, so he would have dropped a little bit.
Yeah, it's just not good from
So
3.
did Melo
But
with that over 5.
God,
Couldn't
they
help out.
need Abrinas, which we haven't even talked about. He's been in the
to
rotation.
that question though, I think whenever Melo stops the ball, like it doesn't just have an effect on that one possession. Like I feel like it just continues because I think Melo, like probably most NBA players, but especially Russ, like whenever he makes a mistake, he wants to get it back immediately. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I just think if he gets into stopping the ball, it really is going to hurt everything else.
I agree. I
So-
think that I've said it. He's got to be that Serge Ibaka for this team. Obviously not defensively, but offensively.
The Serge Ibaka that can dribble a little.
They can handle and
And
pass,
pass.
and
It's
isn't a
amazing.
robot.
That's what we always wanted.
Isn't it
Focus.
like, this is...
He's got to focus.
It
Focus.
kind of goes against
Mitch McGinnity.
me picking this, but there is a chance that could really lead into this. Yeah. So Melo. I mean, if Melo continues to move the ball as well as he is, that could lead to Paul George
George
becoming
could
more
lead to
consistent
this?
on.
That could
That's
lead to this.
That could lead to this. That's why I said the whole
You
time.
found middle ground. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Puzzled my brains.
Which is more important going forward? This, Russell Westbrook finding his jump shot, which he kind of started to last night, or that, the Thunder finding a backup center.
This small NBA, I like Russ's chances against everyone. I want him to find his jumper. I want him. It's like I want last year's Russ, just not as much last year's Russ. I don't want him to work himself
In
to
moderation.
death. I don't want him to work himself to death, but like that. I want it. I want to get back to the point where when Russ pulls up from 15,
It's just gonna,
I can look down at my phone and send a tweet because I know it's in.
I'm gonna go this as well.
I'll take it that.
Oh,
Ooh.
I mean, you see it like how important Steven Adams is. Like when Steven Adams is out of the game, it's scary.
it's not good.
It's
like-
actually the most glaring out of the game. Well, you can make a case for Russ when he goes out of the
Yeah.
game that but
Well,
it's up there with
I
it.
mean, if Paul George is going to continue to sort of progress and be able to handle that second unit, like I think that even lessens what the nervousness whenever
But
Russ
doesn't
goes
it,
out.
But it almost seems like Paul George has to have Adams out there.
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
be
no, that's-
effective with that.
but that's the point though. Is
Right.
like, so I want Adams out there with Russ. I also want Adams out there with Paul George.
He needs to play 48.
We just
Yeah,
need
he's
to
gotta
clone
play them all.
Steven Adams.
So
Clone
I
him.
think there's a point there
Problem
to say
solved.
Boom.
because Dakari didn't work out.
But sister.
Ooh.
She's a badass. Yes, bring
Yeah, I
her
mean,
in.
it's not that Dakari didn't work out.
He's
It's
just very. He had.
He's
he
just
had
Dakari
2
Johnson.
games.
but hold on, but it's not like they expected Dakari to be the backup center, right? I think they at this point they expected
Hope not.
Patterson to be that backup center and to be better than he's been.
You didn't let me finish.
Sorry.
No, it's ridiculous.
Talking
No.
about practice.
So yeah, no, but Dakari, I think whenever Dakari had 2 good games where everybody was like, "Oh wow, like maybe
Yeah.
there's something there," and then he comes in when Adams comes back, like you just need even a smaller role, and he can't do it. And then Patterson obviously is not the answer at the 5, and so I think there's something to be said there that this team is going to have to figure something out, especially in the playoffs, for that backup center role just to get by where Steven Adams can play 36 minutes, and then you could still have somebody else, whether it is go small for part of that time, just have somebody come in for 8 minutes or something like that, just to sort of get by and not have to worry about a big backup center from another team.
Do you think this is priority number 1 right now for Sam Presti?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Unless you want to say can somehow trying to convince Paul George that
Well,
this isn't falling apart. and we're
Stay
fine.
here forever? Are you cool?
hey, 3-game winning streak. That's what he goes to Paul with.
Yeah.
See this?
Hey, you saw we won the third one in a row.
We're putting a new pond in at the practice facility, stocking it with bass. So it's a good job.
Refilling it every week. And we're only 2 games back from 4th.
Right.
All right, next. Which is more important going forward? This, Alex Abrinas finding his jump shot. This one can be quick. Or that, the Thunder finding a backup center.
This.
think I'm still gonna go this.
I think you guys are still wrong. It's got to be
I'm
that.
still a son of a bitch.
I think the first
sorry, I
one,
got-
Russell Westbrook finding his jump shot was this, but I think this one might be that. But God, what a bonus it would be if Alex
Be
Abrinas
nice.
can find his jump shot, man. You know, he played good minutes against the Jazz. I thought he's actually played good minutes the past 2 games. He's got to get looks. They got.
He learned from sitting down.
Do you think this is on Donovan for not getting him looks, or is this on Abrinas for not being opportunistic when the looks can be gotten? You know what I mean, though?
You could probably say it's a little of both.
Yeah, that's the easy answer. That's
Yeah,
the cop
that's
out
what I
answer.
do. You know, I'm gonna go with both.
I think Nick Collison would sit there and tell you that as a bench player, as a guy that's going to be one of the first ones called off the bench, you have to be ready to play at any point in time.
I think he has been these past 2 games.
And yeah, but at the same time, like there's still a lot of room to grow. But I feel like, you know, kind of early in the season, like maybe he was still unsure about his body after the injury during the EuroLeague or Euro basket or whatever it was. So yeah, I think he's gotten that out of his head. Now he's just got to get back to, I know how to shoot this ball. I need to shoot this ball well.
He had that
Well-
play where he drove and he had nowhere to go.
I was so
And he
surprised
went
that
up,
that
but,
went in.
But that's the thing about him. Like, he can make crazy shots like
that
that.
was
because-
the only shot he made. He
Yeah.
only shot twice. But
Yeah.
That was the only one was off the backboard.
But
But
I
it was
think
just like, how?
But when
Yeah.
when you have a guy that has that kind of shooting ability, they're able to make shots like that, tough shots like
Right.
that. So they got to figure out a way
It'd
to
just
get
be
him going.
super nice if he could start hitting
There's
from
no
deep again.
there's no way he goes 82 games and just doesn't find it,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and if you look at the start of the season,
Rob,
I don't know how much more we need.
but I mean, at the start of the season, they were getting him those looks, and then he was like 0 for 5 several times.
it's not like
And
he
so now
breaks
it's-
them bad though. He's just
I mean, yeah,
missing a little
they
bit.
look all right, but they still don't go in. That's
ma-
important.
Maybe he just needs to be a little closer to the line. You know, he's always like a foot or 2 off of the line. Just get up there, scooch on up to that line, man. All right, next.
Scooch.
Which is more important going forward? This, Billy Donovan finding a rotation to stick with, which we've kind of talked a lot
I
about
like
today.
that one, yeah.
Or that, Billy Donovan continuing to play with rotations to figure out what works.
This 100%.
Really?
I'm going that.
Ooh.
What?
I like him tinkering.
Why?
I like him trying to find something that works.
Do you think
He
that
doesn't
he
like
needs to do
continuity.
that to get to this?
Yeah, you got to do that
Yeah.
first, and then you get to
How
this.
much more that do we need?
Probably about 24.
So,
games.
Rob,
Like, seriously.
Rob, you weren't here last pod, and we talked about rotations. Who's your rotation right now?
Who's my rotation?
Yeah, who do
Like
you
who's
want?
coming off the bench?
Yeah, so we know the starters.
Yeah.
Who's coming off the bench?
The only 2 guys I trust right
Yeah,
now
that's what we said.
is Jeremy Grant and Raymond Felton.
Okay,
Like, I don't think you can trust any of those other guys, but they only played.
but you have to play him. So
They
who,
only
who are
played
they gonna
9. They only played 9 guys last night.
be? Yep, I think that might be the first game all year they played 9 guys.
Right.
I might be wrong about that.
No,
though.
I think that is right. But
It's,
either way,
maybe there's been another one, but right, you get the point.
either way, I think you have to continue to go with Abrinas. Like the upside there, if he can finally figure it out, and you don't need much. Like, we're not saying he needs to hit. We're not saying he needs to hit like 4 a game. Like, we're just asking him to be more consistent whenever he is.
When you
out
get
there.
the shot, knock it
Yeah.
down at
And
least half the
that's-
time.
But I think Abrinas would have to be in there.
Only
and then,
shoot 50%. It's not that hard.
Yeah, and then they're also still going to have to bring in a backup center who's not on this team yet, who is also going to have
Tyson
to get minutes.
Chandler.
Kendrick Perkins.
Could be. I'm still going
Yes.
with Nerlens.
Nerlens?
I
Nerlens.
still want Nerlens. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he still only playing like
That
3
ain't happening,
minutes?
man.
I know it's probably it's not. Well, he's not being utilized right now.
Yeah, I
think
just don't think Presti would put himself in a position
Where he could just
to
leave.
acquire a player that's going to demand more money than the Thunder can play
Yeah,
him.
but is this not the season to do that though?
I guess technically, yeah, it is.
The whole Okafor thing too.
But do
Isn't he
you
just
not?
sitting
You don't
over
think
there?
he'd go with a veteran though? Some guy that's been there and done that.
Maybe. I just think Nerlens Noel is underrated. Whenever I watch him actually
He
get
does
minutes,
look
and
good.
I I mean, I don't watch every
He is
game,
a guy
but-
that hasn't been in the playoffs ever before, though. So that stuff does factor in.
Yeah.
You're not watching him a lot right now. That's for damn sure.
But anyways, we got off of it. So
9 guys is what I think is what I would
So
like to
Arenas
see.
is that third, and the fourth is Patterson, Hustis. Who are you going with?
No, I'm over. No, I'm saying
He said none
I'm
of them.
saying the guy that they're
The
going
guy-
to bring in.
Okay, but what about right now?
No, I don't trust any of those guys. You have to play.
Do you let them choose amongst themselves? You guys pick one of you.
There's going to be times where they're still going to
man
use
enter, one man leave.
yeah,
Thumb wrestle over
gladiator.
it.
No, but there's going to be times where they're
Rock, paper,
still
scissors.
going to go with like Hustis and Ferguson. Those guys are still going. Or Donovan is still going to use those guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 guys that you can trust, and then I think as the game is going on, sometimes you're going to see those other guys, and sometimes you're just not.
So you're just tinkering with stuff, right?
He
With
shouldn't
those other
be.
guys. You're
I wish-
tinkering.
Ooh,
I wish
called out.
No, I wish he wasn't. I wish
I
he
baited
wasn't,
him into
but
that.
I liked it.
he is, and it's a mistake because it should have been this or that. I don't remember which one it was, but
This is the good one. You chose wrong.
All right, next, last one. Which is more important going forward? Well, let's start with the preface here. Rob, you wrote this one. Paul
this
George,
is a good one.
Paul George is leading the NBA in minutes per game. So, which is more important going forward? This, Donovan should keep playing Paul George high minutes out of necessity, or that Donovan should pull back Paul George's minutes to preserve him for the playoffs.
This until you've established yourself as a team and until you feel comfortable where you can pull. I think sitting at 37-38 is really solid. Once they feel like you can go out there any night and pretty much beat anyone, like where the team should be, where we think this team should be, once they get to that level, then yeah, I think you
more
can
of
rein
that.
it back to 35-34.
yeah, and they're 11 and 12 right now, so
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to say like, things haven't been going great, and so now if things were going awesome, they'd only lost, let's say 7 games, 8 games, then I think you could start to say like, let's tone it back a little bit, but you're trying to figure things out, and you need wins. Like they need wins, and so it's hard to. I wish that it would be like let's start to rest Paul George a little bit here. It's just not. I don't think it's feasible at this point.
I'll also throw in this caveat is that once again, as this team that we know what they can be, as they start to progress and they're playing these bad teams, it's no longer just like, hey, we're fighting. We're not playing starters in the fourth quarter against the Sacramento Kings because we gave up a huge lead for absolutely no reason. It's, hey, we're beating the Sacramento Kings by 30 like we fucking should.
Right.
And I think that also diminishes the total minutes as well.
I agree.
All right,
You guys want to do some twits?
let's do it.
Tweet,
Tweet,
Tweet, tweet, tweet.
Rob said before the pod that we've been going tweet too fast, so we slowed it down.
I'm in everybody's head now.
Yeah,
You're
Yeah,
messing
we're
with us,
thinking
man.
about it too much. Much like
Yeah.
True.
the Thunder.
We should just go play.
take it away, Justin.
From Dan C. at DA Crookster. Is it bad that I'm more sexually aroused by a Steven Adams putback than I am by my own girlfriend?
That's a tough one.
Nah,
I'm
it's
gonna
not
go
bad.
no, but probably for her it is.
It's happened twice now. In was it 3 games or 2 games where he
Your
has
arousal?
No, where
Oh.
Steven Adams has gotten the rebound whenever they desperately needed.
Save the day.
Yeah, he saved the day. And so as it's becoming, a little more common, maybe he'll get back to his girlfriend. I don't know. I don't know if
Or
he
maybe
will get back to his
you know what you
girlfriend.
could do? You could use that Steven Adams arousal and direct it
Oh, go right
after the
in?
game.
Oh,
you
yeah.
just go right in.
Hey, baby, Steven Adams just had a putback. Let's go!
Let's do this.
From
Okay.
from Al Chambers at Al Chambers 4, Steven Adams missed a shot tonight. And obviously talking about the Jazz game. Care to explain the slump?
I like that one.
He needs to step it up, guys.
Yeah.
Steve is he's letting us down with that one shot miss.
Yeah, no, get your shit together.
Yeah,
If he's not 9 of 9 every night, I don't fucking know why we're paying him that much.
yeah. Clearly he's not deserving that money.
Absolutely not. From Daniel Rodero, Danny at Danny Yolo 124. God damn it. Is Dre the clutchest player on the team?
Nope.
I don't think you can say that about a player that can't really score for themselves, right?
Clutch as in defense.
Defensively clutch, I would make that argument. Him and Paul George pretty
Sure.
much neck and neck.
That's fair.
But offensively, absolutely.
No.
Wow.
Just no.
Hey, he hit that 1-3 that one time.
He did
that
do
was pretty
that.
clutch. We still lost that game.
It's
Though.
the only one.
From Michael Cage for Tennessee head coach. They still don't have a head coach.
Still though?
At Thunderbucket7. How are we playing at the Nets in Mexico City? Makes no sense. Can we have a Spanish broadcast team for this game?
Well, you should be grateful that this is a road game. It
Yeah.
doesn't count against your own home game. So the Thunder are still playing, what, 41 home games
Yeah,
as
so it's
opposed
nice.
to... Yeah,
And
so...
also be fucking prepared for BD's Spanish to be
Oh,
broken
you're
out.
so right.
It's coming.
He already pulled
All right.
out. He already pulled out Ventana and Glasso.
Just talking about
Yeah.
it.
Scale of 1 to 10, how surprised would you be if he literally just commentated this entire
Not
game
at
in
all.
Spanish?
I expect it. I'm expecting that.
I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna say 100% surprised because he's. I believe he's fluent in French and knows some German. Also,
I have no response to that.
to the last.
So
How
what
do
if
you
it
know
was? What if he does it in French then?
Then that would be awesome.
Yeah,
Really
Mexico
fucks with people's
City.
head.
A lot of
Big-
French speakers
Yeah, a
there.
lot.
So the NBA wants to expand its footprint. It's going to Mexico City, like it's been doing this for the last few years.
Yeah.
Also, to the last part, home games only. So you won't get this one in Spanish, but I believe it's 9:30 a.m. One of the Spanish local affiliates here in Oklahoma City radio station. They actually
Univision?
have. No, radio. They actually have Spanish broadcast games, so you can listen to the games broadcast in Spanish on the radio. in
One
Oklahoma
time I was in Mexico when we were in the playoffs against the Clippers, and it was very exciting. They were just like,
No idea what
"El
they're saying.
Blake
but-
Griffin," and I was like, I don't know.
They
That
were
was
Russian?
an Italian.
Yeah, that was
or
Italian.
Russian.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was, but
They were somewhere in Europe.
yeah. Anyways, next.
Next.
Excuse me.
I'll be listening in English. by
Jason's
the
like,
way.
please, next. I just,
I ruined accents.
I tucked myself into a hole.
it's
from-
okay. My dad only can do Chinese accents. And I'm just like, that's so racist. That's
So weird.
all right, next.
From Always and Forever Art at Always and Forever Art. I know there are about 3 two-way centers that are better than Adams, but I think he is the best center for the Thunder specifically. Your thoughts? Also, I believe Pat should play more. His shot will eventually start to fall, and he is a good and smart defender. Once again, your thoughts?
Well, first one, I think that's an interesting case about Adams being the best suited center for the team. But you could also make a case for like a guy like Anthony Davis. I mean, how could you deny that? I mean, he's one of the best, if not
If he ever played.
or Joel Embiid.
be good.
There's other guys that are just clearly superior overall as players. But he's a really good fit on the team
Yeah.
for sure.
It's a little bit of a homer pick. It has to be to say that he's the fit. I mean, I want the best player, which I'm not.
Sure.
Nobody's disappointed we have Steven
No,
Adams.
hell no.
But it would be nice. I mean, there's better. He's not the best
Yeah.
center in the league, but
No, but
And-
and then as far as Pat, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know what we've seen to make somebody think that he's
What-
just going to shoot his way out of it.
Yeah, well, the bad part about it is I think that he looks his best when you don't even notice he's on the court.
Yeah.
That's the bad
A lot
part.
of times I don't notice he's on the court until it's going badly, and I'm like,
Why is
"Oh,
he
man,
there?"
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe him getting more minutes could help him get more in the flow and kind of feel more comfortable again, because he has had a really rough
I'm not
entry
that
period.
I'm not that opposed to it. Honestly, my biggest issue with him is his lack of rebounding.
Yeah,
he
that's
cannot
hurtful.
he does not rebound the ball very well, and I think that hurts the team. It goes against the grain of who the Thunder are trying to be. Well, maybe not now, but who they've been.
From James Winskill at Winskill1969. Why doesn't Adams get more shots in the fourth quarter ever? Period. Or sorry, fourth Q ever. Period.
Yeah.
It's a good question. They go away from
They
him.
should. He should.
Do they go away from him, or is it kind of
We
just?
talked about that a little
Is
bit.
it?
Them adjusting.
They go away from him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets harder to get him the ball in the fourth quarter, obviously, because defenses are going to tighten up a little bit, and it's a lot easier to take that jump shot. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. A lot of times in the fourth quarter, you want the ball in your best scorer's hands, and it gets harder to get Adams the ball. You don't necessarily try to force feed him at that point.
The way that Adams is playing, though, I mean, I don't know if it's just his last 3 games or what, but I mean, he's the 3rd best scorer on this team. Carmelo has completely fallen off, and so I mean, I don't know. I mean, it kind of is what it is. Like, I think you have to continue to feed Adams, and the fact that like they're not, I think it enhances it whenever you see them lose. But whenever he continues to get the ball, especially in the fourth quarter, like good things are just going to continue to happen.
You're right.
Agreed.
I think, and you got to credit Adams too, just because even when he doesn't get the ball in the fourth quarter, when they're not looking for him, when they don't find him, they don't run plays for him, whatever. He's
still
making
working.
plays, man.
Still working.
He's grabbing offensive rebounds, big offensive rebounds.
Huge.
And he is maybe not only one of the best offensive rebounders in the league, but he might be the best at like putting the ball back up
Right.
on an offensive rebound. And the beginning of the season, well, he went through the stretch where I was like, I wish that he would stop passing it out of offensive rebounds and just go back up with it. He's been getting back to that here a little bit lately. It helps when you get the ball a little closer.
Agreed.
From Cole Steffens at Cole_Steph.
Uh-huh.
And I want to make a point. It's Steph with an F, not Steph with a PH, because
Good. I like
that
it.
guy in Golden State's terrible and has a stupid ankle. How long before Melo gets tired of passing and has to start taking his shots again? Is his current unselfish play sustainable for someone of his regard?
He took 19 shots. We talked a lot about that. But like I said earlier, I think once they start to lose, that'll be what changes it.
Once they start to lose, as if you're expecting them to start
Oh,
losing.
wow.
Well, I'm
I-
saying if they
Wow.
do.
I do think he's going to have games that he slips up and he shoots 22 shots. I mean,
He
it's,
shot 19.
yeah,
They're not very
it's
far off.
Melo.
Sometimes he's going to make a lot
He's
of
been
those,
in the
too.
he's been in the league
'Cause he's
15
pretty good at it.
Yeah, he's been in the league 15 years. This is who he's been when he's been in
Yeah.
the league. You don't just all of a sudden be like, I'm not doing that anymore. That's damn near impossible. So he's gonna have some slip ups, but I guess what every Thunder fan and what the coaches are hoping for is that he, far more often than not, just plays under control and
as
plays
long as-
what's better for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, we go back to six shot attempts in the fourth quarter. That's a good number.
They were good shots.
Four of those came in the paint.
Yeah, that was
It
the
depends
key.
on,
They were
on
good
those shots. It depends
Yeah.
on the shots.
And
Exactly.
and his intention on getting into the paint, just saying I'm getting there. He made a really
Yeah.
nice baseline spin on Joe Ingles.
Oh, that was pretty.
That's what I want to see from him. He had a couple dunks in that
Yeah.
game. Huh?
Yeah.
Melo dunking the ball.
So kind
Fat
of
ass Melo.
Body shaming all episode.
man. From Todd Lytle, this is kind of along the same lines. At ToddBoy23, do you guys think PG and Melo like playing like this? It's concerning, especially with PG. Do they enjoy this brand of basketball and not being the guy?
Came to Oklahoma City with the MVP. Like, I mean,
I
don't
think they
know.
expected this.
Yeah, I think
you
you
knew what
had
you were
to.
getting into.
Melo
Yeah.
chose it.
Yeah.
Paul George plays like he should enjoy it,
He
right?
says he loves it.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have the type of personality. You see him out there when he's out there with the bench by himself. He doesn't play like, I want the ball, I'm Kobe
Yeah.
or
Right.
anything.
He doesn't really have much of a personality on the floor.
Yeah.
He just kind of plays basketball, and he's good at it.
Yeah,
It's really good.
Quite
at
good. Quite
fair
good.
point.
It. Fair point.
From Zach Weber 33 at Z Avalanche 33. Is it time to praise Robertson for his glue guy defense and stop bashing him for his offensive struggles? Has gotten better on that end also.
Like this guy. I really like this guy.
Well, I mean, I think there's an in-between here.
Nope. Dre's the best.
I don't think anyone's bashing him for his offense. I mean, there are people.
There are
that are bashing.
a bunch of people that are.
But
bashing.
No, I don't think it's necessary to bash him for his offense. I mean, he's playing good ball lately, right? So
Yeah. I mean, yes, he can be really terrible on offense. But if he plays like he has been these last couple games, he's
been really good.
a much better player.
He's a
been really
really good role player, and the more
Very,
he
very good.
the more he the more he excels at his role, I think the more he adds to this team, the more valuable he is.
And I think it's hard. I think it's an underrated, hard thing in the NBA to find those role players that just accept their role and run with it.
Well, that was a big point that AD brought up after the game last night. Is like, if your stars play like
Did he yell
the
it?
stars, he kind of did. He's like, if the stars play like stars and the role players play like role players, you're gonna be a lot better. And if
Right.
Dre is the quintessential, like, I know exactly what I'm good at and I'm gonna stick to that.
It helps when people know
And
their roles for sure.
Very helpful. Very, very.
So staying on the Dre train
I like it.
from Nortier Villafort at N Villafort. Can this version of Dre stay on the floor at the end of games?
It's a pretty good question. Like, okay, let's adjust the question. Let's say at the end of games, in big games, in playoffs, in games that are decisive almost.
Yeah, I would expect. And so I have here in the last 4 games that they've played, Dre has played the second most minutes in the fourth quarter. Like, so I mean, he is staying out there,
Right.
Yeah.
and I would expect, especially in the playoffs where it gets tighter. Like, I get that, like we said earlier, like they have to find a way to utilize him better on offense, but like they're gonna need defense always. They're always gonna need defense, and
especially in those fourth
When you
quarters.
say
Yeah.
when you say they have to find a way to utilize him better on offense, are you speaking about now, or are you just saying
Yeah, I mean-
continuously?
always, yeah. They constantly need to find a better way to use Dre on offense.
Right.
Until
They're doing a good. You would say they're doing a good job here.
they're doing a better job, yeah. Which
Yeah.
is probably
Just keep building on that.
You should
Right.
you should email Donovan and be like, hey, I have some suggestions.
I mean, I coach a 4U team, and so like like if Billy wants just to spitball some stuff,
You
like
got to get him a juice
seriously.
box.
I just
I'll do
bounced
it.
some stuff
right before
off
he
each
gets in
other.
there. Maybe get him a little bit of slice of banana.
Naps are really big in our game, and so yeah, I don't know.
Tying the shoes, important.
Very,
Velcro.
very huge.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Velcro?
No,
So
it's not.
I want to throw out my own question just real quick. Like
Oh.
Denied
So-
moving. No.
What's the Twitter handle on this one?
it's at Thunder Tie.
okay.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Justin Wright at Thunder Tie. So passing with Dre. Do you think that's a big development that would be really beneficial? Like, do you
If
think
he passes,
do you think Dre working on his passing is something that should happen over the course of the season?
I think he's done a good job. But it's hard for him when you're not being guarded. Who the hell are you going to pass it to?
Right.
You know, so, like it makes it really, really hard to be a good passer.
Right.
That was such a good point earlier where you said like he gets the ball and he quickly wants to pass it,
Yeah.
but there's nobody on him,
Yeah.
so everybody else is still being guarded. It's
Yeah.
like, well, what did you accomplish?
some by two people because
Yeah.
So
that's how that works.
That's what I'm seeing though lately. It's like, so on one hand you're like, oh, good ball movement, guys, but on the next you're like, yeah, but you know you're limited here.
I remember my point from earlier.
Oh no.
We had talked about
I think we're kind of over it.
we had talked about once the offense started going that Dre his offense would pick up, and it kind of has now that the starters have started to move the ball a little bit. You see him starting to cut, and it's kind of they're feeding into each other.
He's
a little
definitely a dirty work
bit. Yeah.
offensive player. You know, it's not
Ain't
gonna.
nothing smooth about it.
No, he's gonna get those points that come off of hard work for sure.
Man, if he could drive and kick like you see college point guards do all the time, oh my, I think that would be something
That
really
seems
dangerous.
like a big ask for
It,
what
it
we've
is.
Yeah,
seen.
it
Sure,
does.
sure.
It's like it's hard to drive and kick when you're not being guarded.
That's
It's just like-
Because they're like,
but what
just-
if he was guarded?
Just dunk it at that point.
right, exactly.
good question though. You want a T-shirt?
Sure, I'll take another one.
Okay.
For,
Oh, we're still going.
no, we still
Now
have
we
one
have
more.
to give a T-shirt.
We have
off
one
someone.
more. We have one more.
That's true.
From OKC Thunder Zone at Basket Follower. Thunder isn't the last year's young team, but home away performance discrepancy still continues. Any thoughts on?
No, this question is dead on though. What?
Yeah.
So what are the Thunder at home? 9-3, I think, and they're 2-9 on the road. Yep, that's it. 9-3 at home, 2-9 on the road. Is that a? How would you take that? Is that a good? Do you feel better about that or worse about that? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, teams obviously play better at home most of the time.
Sure,
Our
but this
role
is
players,
a big discrepancy.
yeah, but like our role players are actually doing decently at home. It feels like,
that's
and that's
usually how it works.
like when they go on the road, not so good. But like at some point, you have to be able to win on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice to kind of get those wins. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
score more points.
Score more points. You got to get Abrinas to shoot.
Hey, thanks for the
Better.
Twitter questions, everyone. At OKC Thunderheads, you can send them in next time if you didn't this time. And if we weren't able to get to your questions, we still appreciate it. And sometimes we just can't get to them all.
Sorry, not sorry.
Well, I'm a little sorry.
Oh, he's sorry.
Sometimes people ask similar questions.
True.
There is no dumb question. Someone might have the same thing.
Agreed. So keep them coming in the future. Thanks for listening, everyone. Follow us on Twitter at OKC Thunderheads. Justin's over at Thunder Tie. It feels weird ending a podcast in this instead of our jazz.
I know
It
it
is
strange.
super weird.
Yeah, hit me with the jazz. There we go. Thanks for
Different
listening.
jazz.
I got to start it over. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter at OKC Thunderheads. Justin's over at Thunder Tie. Subscribe on iTunes and YouTube. You're probably...
Get on the tubes.
I said you're probably watching it. You're probably not watching on YouTube.
But you should
be.
start.
Yeah, you should be.
Everybody should be.
Because this is what we're doing now. So just search Thunderheads or Thunderheads Podcast and you will find us. Thunder got the Nets in Mexico City tomorrow night or today if you're listening tomorrow. And Memphis on Saturday. We will catch you guys on Sunday with another pod. Until then, And as always, Thunder up.
Wow, that's beautiful.
That was like some Mr. Rogers shit.